Hello everybody, welcome to the EM Code. I'm Dr. Wajiha, emergency physician by occupation. Join my quest in asking right questions from right people to get right answers. Our guest for today is Mr. Ahmad Fauzi Shah, who's a paramedic or what you can call a physician assistant in emergency department in Malaysia. So the idea of getting him on board is to highlight the importance of every person who contributes in the emergency department, the struggles they share, and how they have come out with amazing colors. So welcome to the EM Code, Mr. Ahmad. So before I start to talk about his questions to ask him questions, I'd like to put a little light. This gentleman has worked in disasters across the globe. He has assisted the Hajj pilgrims. He has been in so many activities in addition to the ED, that there was no chance I could miss out having a conversation with him.
Hello guys, I'm Ahmad Fauzi bin Shah, Senior Assistant Medical Officer in Emergency and Trauma Department Hospital Kuala Lumpur. Firstly, I would like to say thank you to EM Code and Dr. Wajiha for inviting me to sharing experience and sharing our profession, Assistant Medical Officer.
So my first question to you would be, you have worked in different disasters, be it flood or tornadoes or different kinds of disasters. So how does the preparedness for one disaster differ from others, and what are the challenges you face?
In flood mission, there were a few aspects that need to be prepared. It is different from other disaster because in additional of treating the flood victim, I need to adapt with the situation. The lack of medical equipment as well as water and food supply. The supply will be very limited in this situation. Besides of that, the risk of disease that's synonym with flood is also a main concern, such as UTI and cholera. I need to make sure that this risk is under control. About memorable experience, I still remember one of the mission I attend in Tacloban, Philippines at 2013. It required me to take vaccine before the flight. I took 3 vaccines for self-protection for me and other volunteers. After all those preparation, then I flew with army plane, which is take 23rd hour of flight. Why it takes 23rd hour? Okay, it is because air traffic that is controlled by army, having a huge number of landing requests from humanitarian mission team at the same time. So we need to divert our flight from Tacloban to Cebu, and we stop to Labuan at Malaysia, and then we to refuel, and then we back to Cebu, and then straight to Tacloban for landing. Total of diverting was 23 hours. It was very memorable, longest flight for me.
Limitation of resources in emergency department is a fact known to all, but air traffic is something I have got to know, like it's a new aspect for me. These challenges seem interesting, seriously. So as a matter of fact, you have worked during the floods of Japan, during the tsunami, during our recent. So how did you handle the stressful situations like these? What were the different kind of challenges you had?
Yes, of course, those missions really give a stressful situation. Myself, I always find a way to overcome. Some preparation I done as soon as I get the early information. I will start packaging my ready-to-roll equipment, PPE, and my personal equipment. Also, not to forget, I must be ready to serve, which means I need to prepare my mental and emotional for any kind unexpected situation that will occur there. So basically, I have a few bad experience in different countries, such as in Myanmar. There were a language barrier with locals, so that's be a problem for me to communicate with them. Another one was in Philippines. There were a problem with basic infrastructure which is totally destroyed, and the remote area we were not accessible, making search and rescue process difficult. Meanwhile, in Aceh, tsunami and earthquake have caused many people critical injured, and many more that it was a huge amount of casualty there.
Okay, let's move to the pilgrimage part. Handling pilgrims is again a different task because you first have to make sure they are safe, then finding the sick ones and handling them. And since people come from all over the world, what are the challenges you face as a physician assistant handling them?
Handling Hajj pilgrim is not an easy task. In Hajj season, there will be many people with relatively small space in a short period of the religious obligation and rule to fulfill abide. When I involve a huge crowd, anything could happen. At the end, expected or unexpected. The main skill that's needed here is I must be able to coordinate all those people in an organized way. If not, there will be a chaos and there. A detailed preparation with multiple teams such as Tabung Haji and outside agencies is a must. This is where the teamwork being the first priority.
No doubt, teamwork is the most essential part that emergency team has over any other specialty. So moving to the other aspect, let's talk about your role as a emergency physician assistant. This concept is pretty alien to me. Honestly, I have only heard of paramedic as a post. I've not heard of emergency physician assistant as a post, at least in my country. It's alien to many parts of the world. So what qualifications exactly are required and what are the roles you play?
I will agree with you. Many parts of the world still didn't realize the existence of this profession. Here in Malaysia, we are called as assistant medical officer. Meanwhile, in other West countries such USA, we also know as physician associate. A certified assistant medical officer should be undergoing a few compulsory courses in emergency and trauma care. There are 4 components in this course, which is basic life support, Malaysia trauma life support, pediatric life support, and advanced cardiac life support. Meanwhile, the training structure is divided into a few stages. First, in diploma medical assistant, which is take 3 years of training. Then will be an advanced diploma for 1 year after you working about 4 years. Next one is in advanced disaster training, which take 1 week for training, and advanced merit, what we call merit for certificate for air transfer. You must have advanced merit, also can take for 1 week training. Currently in Malaysia, Medical Assistant Board have introduced a new concept we call AMO Tech. It is stand for Assistant Medical Officer Technician, which means our career path is now undergoing a transformation, its own specialized subunit. For example, Assistant Medical Officer in emergency, you must have MTech, and for example, for me, okay, I have MTech and subspecialty in disaster, and in disaster, I have a certificate from CBRNE. Okay. For neurosurgery, cardiology, and very other department will be expertise in their own subunit, just like medical officer having their own specialize.
I appreciate your choice of a rare specialty. And moving on, if you're working in the ED, you have to keep yourself updated with the latest advancements. So, how do you keep yourself updated with the skills news that you have?
I keep myself updated by completing credentialing such as emergency and trauma service or pre-hospital care every 2 years. Another way to make sure I'm updated in my profession is by attending compulsory courses such as basic life support, Malaysia trauma life support, pediatric life support, and advanced cardiac life support, which is then also need to be renewed every 2 years. Paramedic is one of important person in medical line. So as the responsibility is high, I must always improve and update my skills so that I can give the best to my patient. One of the way I'm improving them is by doing the daily training. This include my everyday hands-on with patient and also continuous medical education, or what we call CME session. A part of that, we also do a case study or simulation weekly or monthly.
Your job is pretty stressful. How do you maintain your calm?
Yes, I admit that this job is one of the most stressful jobs in the world because we are involved with people's life. I need to be extra focused and make zero mistake when I am with my patient. This can be stressful, but I must be able to stay calm. One of the way is will make sure my work is balanced with outside activity. Here in Hospital Kuala Lumpur, we also active in having collaboration with Fire and Rescue Department Malaysia. We are quite often doing physical training and outdoor activities such as disaster simulation and so on. Not to forget Special Malaysia Disaster Assistance and Rescue Team, we call SMART. Also one of our favorite alliance in doing outdoor training.
What got you to the branch of emergency? What kept you sane for so long?
Wow, it's a good question. Emergency department is the most challenging department in medical service. This is because here we can expect nothing. Every patient that come in is beyond our expectation. Anything could happen. Cardiac arrest, polytrauma, and many more. That is what led me here. I am the person that loves to challenge and push myself to the limit. When I come to fresh case, I always can have a new experience and later able to share with my junior and my colleague.
How do you maintain your work-life balance?
It is simple for me. At work, I will give full commitment to work, but when I on leave, I will give 100% to my family. That is how I maintain my work-life balance. Besides that, I'm blessed to have a wife and family that understand my job very well. They will always on my back when I serve is need anytime, anywhere.
We cannot not talk about the elephant in the room, the COVID-19. So for the past 1 year, what were your challenges as a assistant of a physician?
In this pandemic, there are a lot of risks that may occur. One of them is risk to medical staff. The most important thing is transferring and handling COVID positive patient. It's danger evaluation, which is a need to put our safety first before anything else. First in my PPE, everything needs to be wear accordingly to guidelines that have been given by Ministry of Health of Malaysia. No mistake is allowed. Meanwhile, when I am with patients, no matter what case they are, I always need to ask for their history, such as their COVID contact history, travel history from red zone and others related questions. That simple question might save me from this dangerous.
Transferring critical patients from one hospital to the other can be chaotic. Nobody better than me can tell you about that. But since you are in the specialty and you are doing it day in and day out, so what was the most challenging transfer you have come across?
For me, one of most challenging transfer was back in 2019. It was a 12 years old boy with vascular injury over right leg. That little boy was transferred via air transfer. On the flight, the blood pressure was low and blood transfusion was done on the spot. The communication between crew member was limited because of high altitude and noisy surrounding from the helicopter itself. I took total of 1 hour flight. When reached the landing point at Army base, the boy then transferred to an ambulance. It is even more challenging because of his condition. The ambulance need to cruise slowly around 20 km per hour to prevent any other injury.
If I'm talking about the land transfers, I cannot not talk about the air transfers because air ambulances are a significant part of pre-hospital emergency medicine in Malaysia. So what are the challenges you have in land versus air ambulance transfers?
Challenges that I face when transfer patients via land and air ambulance are totally different. Air transfer need more accurate and specific preparation, as if anything happen midway, there is no turning back. Such a transferring patient with oxygen support, the oxygen reserve in the tank need to be calculated perfectly to make sure it is enough for the whole flight. Same goes to other backup equipment such as defibrillator machine and ventilator. For your information, not all ventilators are suitable for a transfer that occur 30,000 feet. That means 10,000 meters on the air. The low pressure environment needs a specific ventilator for unexpected situations such as cardiac arrest and so on. We need to prepare a contingency plan to overcome that situation. In addition, the teamwork between crew members are also important to have everything under control and avoid any error.
That's pretty interesting. If you have had anybody who would ask you how to become a paramedic and what are the things they have to be prepared for in a career as a paramedic, what would your advice be to them?
If you want to be assistant medical officer, I would say that this major decision for you. You better think twice, because as you step in this profession, you need to give 100% of your commitment into this in order to be a successful assistant medical officer. Discipline, focus, never give up. This is a core aspect. You need to take opportunity whenever they are offered to you, because once you miss, there is no guarantee that you will have a second chance. Other than that, you need to be prepared mentally by improving your skill and knowledge in medical and also in physical. You need to be robust and tough.
Okay, we cannot talk about the biggest killer in countries all over the world, trauma. So the paramedics have a very, very important role in handling polytrauma patients. So what are the challenges you face in your country in handling polytrauma cases? Any advice you'd like to give to others who are in a similar field like you?
There are a lot of important roles and tasks of assistant medical officer in polytrauma case response. Usually, polytrauma will occur in disaster case. So, I will highlight the role of assistant medical officer in handling polytrauma case in terms of disaster. First role, in rescuer. In disaster, beside of other agencies such as fire and rescue department, and assistant medical officer also have skill to be medical search and rescue officer, what we call MESARO, and transport officer. Meanwhile, core role of assistant medical officer in the first aider, which is divided into clinical coordinator, liaison officer, and human resource manager. Here, high level of skill and knowledge is needed in order to make sure the treatment and management it is the best. Lastly, I would like to special thanks EM Code because invite me to share experience and knowledge and share my profession, assistant medical officer. Lastly, like I said, excellent job for excellent people. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Mr. Fauzi. Thank you so much for your time with us. It was great to have you on the EM Code.